Welcome back to Online Darts, everyone. We're here in the northeast in Whitby, and of course we had to get Duzzer and Glenn. Just been up there. What an atmosphere!
Yeah, what a crowd. We've got a couple of guys here called Carl Coleman and Richie Parkin. Richie Parkin's like Whitby's #1 for like the past decade. Carl Coleman sold 150 tickets. So Carl's got the opportunity tonight to play in A.D. Lewis. Yeah. So that's going to be incredible. But I've just played there myself. What an atmosphere.
Bit of prep for the seniors next week?
Next week.
You playing next week, or is it the week after?
No,
is it one after you're playing?
Sunderland, yeah, I'm going to play in November.
Bit of prep for Sunderland?
Yeah, listen, I can still play.
We know that, yeah.
And I've just played really, really nicely there, but I'm playing a guy out the audience, and you wouldn't believe the nerves in my body. Only Mark Webster understands where I am, and that's not a joke. That's not with a smile on my face, but only Mark Webster understands how I feel about playing. And yes, there's a big crowd in there, 600 people, but only Mark Webster understands the fact how nervous I was when I got someone out the crowd. Luckily, I opened the show, I played really nicely, but performance anxiety it's awful.
You touched on performance anxiety there. Do you still want to be a player, or
no?
I know because you toyed with it. Is Glen Durrant the player done?
Yeah, he's done. Yeah, he's done. I want to be the best coach in the world, and I want to be the best commentator in the world. So I've been the best player in the world. You know, there was a week in April 2020 where I went to bed and I think I'm the best player in the world. I think it was Darryl Gurney at Premier League, and then a week later we're like, Newcastle's not on because of COVID. Liverpool. So I'm not going to go to Newcastle a week after. I think I went to bed that week, and I worked really hard during COVID. The fire's not there. The desire's not there, and you need that. You know, the two lads I'm talking about, they're on the practice board now. We get in here at 4:30 in the afternoon. They've been on the board since then. I don't have that fire in the belly, so no, I will never ever be a dart player again.
It's the first time I've ever heard you say the fire isn't there anymore.
No.
I know you might have thought it, but it's the first time I've heard you publicly say it.
Is it? Yeah. No, the fire in the belly hasn't been there for a long time. I tried to practice an hour a night the past, coming for this big exhibition. It's on my doorstep. The reception I got tonight was incredible. I don't want to go up there and go 26-26. And the throw was okay. The throw was all right up there, but no. To go, to contemplate going to Q school and then going back on that, nah. Very, very happy with it. I'm very, very happy where I am right now.
See the rebrand back to the Newcastle red as well. The blue's been banished.
Did you say Newcastle then?
I did, sorry, Middlesbrough red.
Hey, edit that, I tell you what.
No, I'll leave it here.
This is my last interview with Full Bars, everybody. But to have the red and white, that last shirt I wore was synonymous to the period when I didn't play well. And when I didn't put it, tonight when I put it on, it felt all right, I've still got a big game to come tonight. I've got a best of 5, best of 7 tonight. And do you know what? I'm not here to have a crack with the crowd. I've done that. I'm going to see how I play in this one, because I want to get ready for the seniors. I want to get ready for the Sunderland in November. I want to be competitive.
Since you've moved into this role as pundit, commentator, I remember speaking to you that you were really nervous when you got the call from Sky, that you were comfortable at the Super Series, that you thought you were doing well, but you got the call from Sky, and since then you've got more and more. What was that like, that first call from saying, do you want to come?
Well, it started with a podcast called Love the Darts, and I moaned. I drove down, and what should have been a 3.5-hour journey was 6. Coming back should have been a 3.5-hour journey, it was 6 hours. I got home, I said I'll never do that again, and they saw something in that podcast. And then I got a call to say, would you be interested in coming to the Grand Slam of Darts for the opening 3 days? And when I walk on to a comms box prior, Gerwin Price versus Cameron Menzies, when I walk to that I've done my prep. I'm hard working, I'm dedicated, and when I walk and do that, the nerves are there like I was as a dad, but I love it.
That's good, I like that. Back in the PDC, obviously I know you watch a lot of darts. What do you make of the current game?
Incredible, the Luke Littler effect. I mean, it's raised the bar to see Michael van Gerwen winning again is massive for the game. I talked about Cameron Menzies, there was a name I pulled out. So there's players coming through the ranks as well. But to be a top 16 player in the PDC right now, Yeah, I wish I could turn the clock back to them because it looks sensational moving forward.
Looks as if we're going to get some change coming up as well. Obviously, the ITV deal's just been renewed. The Sky deal is up. We've seen Barry's comments on it. It's a big time for darts because you feel this next deal is going to be huge off the back of the Luke Littler effect. Yeah,
I'm hoping loyalty is good because, of course, you know, and like everybody, I saw the message from Sun Sports saying, you know, this is what Barry's saying about Sky Sports, and of course that would have an impact on my life. Yeah, fingers crossed. That loyalty is good, and yeah, they like the product. I think darts on Sky's been great. You know, I'm a player from the 80s/90s where I played in front of a World Master in front of 50 people when I lost to Adam Smith-Neil. You know, and then when I went to play in Dublin in front of 10,000 people, you know, I saw what the PDC and what Sky have done together. Fingers crossed that goes on for many years.
Obviously, from your point here with the PDPA, I'm not going to put you on the spot with anything.
Put me on the spot.
Obviously, we've had a few sour notes recently. Obviously, players have to take responsibility. I'm not prejudging anyone because nothing's been banned, but it's now a massive part of the PDPA to educate players. I'm not talking at the elite level, but the lower ones where there could be temptation. Is the PDPA now have to educate players properly?
Yeah, I had a PDPA meeting yesterday in Carlisle. And I love the guys, I love what they're doing, and as a player I hated them. Told them that yesterday, you know, every levy of 3%, 2%, I hated them. And I've just sort of put together a survey. I want to hear from the players. I want to make a difference. I still feel I'm relevant. I still feel like when a dart player says something to me, I want to go to the PDPA and this is what the players think. I'm not just going to be someone who sits in the background and says, "No, God, they work extremely hard." They work extremely hard, and the PDPAs they want to make a difference, and I just want to get that message out to the players.
On making a difference, obviously I know that the PDPA have no thing with the DRA, but something that's come up quite a lot with the DRA is time and timings and the time they take. One, I'm going to ask you, one as a player and two as your new role, do the DRA need to do more in terms of the speed they do things and everything like that?
No, I watched an incredible interview with Chris Mason last week. You know, and I sat down with a cup of tea and I watched that, and he's so forthright. He was so like, he can do that. And, you know, part of me is just like, I want to answer that. And also part of me is like, Glenn, you're PDPA director there. Yeah, it does take a long time. I'm still learning. I'm still wanting to find out, but you know, the whole case that Chris Mason talked about last week, it did take a long time.
It's not so much that one, I was in the Mason one, but the Leighton Bennett case, that when the notes came out from the DRA, it said we knew in September. Okay, that's fine, but he wasn't suspended for the following year, and he was allowed to go to Q school and get. Like, I'm not saying he's guilty, by the way, but what I'm saying is he's been suspended for something that happened a year ago, and has arguably cost someone that chance to win the tour card. So, do the DRA need to realise that, hang on, this is players' lives and other people's careers as well? It's not just the individuals that you're investigating; there are other people's that are affected. There's a knock-on.
I understand the frustrations.
Yeah,
I understand the frustrations.
But can anything be done from a PD? I'm not saying, but can you not put pressure on the DRA, but have correspondence with the DRA to find out what is taking so long?
I don't know. I don't know. What I'm happy to say was it does feel like it takes a long time to get sorted. Do I know the ins and outs from an initial referral to an outcome? I don't think I fully understand the process. What I do understand is the work that people like Alan Warren and the incredible amount of work they put in representation of the PDPA to the DRA in support of the player. I understand that.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm not really understanding of the timings right now.
No, that's fine. I'd say it was just obviously something, because I know that you spoke before that disconnect between the players and the PDPA. Yeah. So it's just interesting to see, can that trust be built back up, like with honesty and things like that?
I hope so, and that's why I joined the PDPA. That's why I want to be a director, or that's why I want to shout out from the rooftops that I'm a director of the Pdpa. I understand the frustrations. Can I make a difference? I don't know right now. I feel like I'm still in my infancy.
Yeah, of course.
And it's a bit like you, Phil, going into a team meeting where you're the newbie.
Yeah, I get that.
You understand, you've looked from afar, and you've looked at, God, this takes a long time, but do I and can I make a big difference initially? So maybe everyone watching this right now, put yourself in the position of going into a couple of meetings with very experienced people. Processes are there, procedures are there. But yeah, I get the frustrations.
No, I get that. From that head coaching point of view here, we've seen the upturn in form of Michael Van Gerwen coinciding with the change of equipment.
Yeah.
Is that something as a coach that you see a lot, or is this a bounce back thing in his head?
I was hoping you were going to say the fact that Vincent van der Vaart was by his side.
I was coming to that in a minute. First of all, I was doing the equipment bit.
I'm not the biggest fan of equipment, maybe because I'm a little bit old school. I've just played tonight with the K-Flex darts, so I'm happy to try equipment, etc. But what I thought you were going to say there, the fact that you can have a mentor, the fact that you can have someone by your side, I thought that was the difference in Michael winning. The fact that Vincent wasn't in that competition, yet he was by the side. Listen, there's a guy behind that stage right now, it's Dennis Coleman. He won me titles because he just said the right things, and I was thinking that maybe Vincent was doing that to Michael right now. I've never been a fan, really, of the change of darts, stems and flights to make it a better player.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I've spoken to Michael about this, and this manufacturer, Winmore, the dart is the same dimension. It is literally just a grip change with a little bit more grip. The dimensions of the dart are the same.
Yeah.
If that makes any difference.
It does. I do like a little tungsten test myself, but my philosophy is if you can hit a 180, Phil, with the darts that you're using, the job in hand is how do you replicate that and to be more and more consistent. We've seen players win in snooker, the Stephen Hendry, a 40 quid snooker cue, a Rex Williams power glide, which was like laughable as a piece of equipment. We've seen dart players with an old-fashioned dart. People change the darts and whatever. My philosophy in coaching is the fact that getting the fundamentals right, the balance, the stance, the throw, and everything, rather than I'm going to get a new piece of setup and that's going to make me a better player.
Everyone said Luke and Luke for the rest of the year. Has Michael just put a spanner in that works? And just to remind everyone, I'm still here.
I hope so, because the more the merrier is my feeling there. And I'm still waiting for Gerwin Price to kick in. Chizzy's must be due a TV, Tom, and I do my own little bit of work aside as well. I went to the match play and said Chizzy was going to win it. He loses first round 10-3, I think it was to Krzysztof Ratajski. But yeah, the more the merrier. You don't want people dominating there. But I think Luke Humphries has been a credit as a world champion this year. I think he's been sensational. And Luke Littler, I've run out of superlatives. I put that on my Twitter recently that I've given up on words I can say about him. They've both been a credit. And listen, right now I stand here and say that I think Chris Dobey's going to be world champion this year. Now I'm going to pick three people. A favourite, probably Luke Littler right now. Someone who probably and could win is Chris Dobey. And then I'm thinking of a bit of an outside, and Cameron Menzies, Ross Smith. Them guys are capable of going very, very deep.
With the depth of talent that you've just said there, and I agree with you, I think it's incredible. Were you surprised that Matt said recently that they're not going to change the Premier League format? It's going to stay at 8 with the amount of good players that are available?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. What I would say, when Matt and the PDC make the next decision, it'll be the right one. It was interesting when he said that. When you go to Newcastle, when you go to Liverpool, when you go to Rotterdam, it's the only Premier League you go to, you remember it. I thought that was important because, maybe people who just sit on the TV and they're watching it and it's the same players playing each other, that's where the criticisms come from. But it's still that when you go to a Premier League, you know you've been to one. It's and it was interesting that he went down that angle as well. But when he is ready to make and when the PDC are ready to make a decision on how the Premier League's going to be, they'll make the right one.
A lot of players, and this isn't just darts, I'm going to throw football into this as well, about the workloads that we're seeing, and Rodri's injury has come up, and everyone's saying it's the amount he's played. The amount of dart players we're seeing pick up injuries at the moment. Again, double head here. One is your player head, one is your PDPA. Is the calendar too busy, or do players just have to accept it and pick and choose more?
It's stacked. It's stacked, and work-life balance is really important. And I tell you, when I reached 40, and certainly when I reached 50, my body knew when I'd done 2 or 3 days of Pro Tours. You know, it's okay when you're 19, 20, you know, in your 20s, you can play darts 6 hours a day. They're the ones who should be feeding off that. But I sat with my diary like anyone, you know, as a comms, as a coach, and it's stacked. It really is, and I think it's really important that the players, and this is where managers might come into it and just pick it and choose and what they want to do. But I guess the people out there just want to see the best players playing week in, week out. But yeah, it's stacked.
Another young talent that's on everyone's lips at the moment, and this comes back to your PDPA stuff as well, is Wessel Nyman. We all know what Wessel went through and the suspension he served, the education, the rehabilitation he's had, and now he's come out the other side and we're seeing what a great talent he is. Does that say to everyone, look, rehabilitation can and does work?
It has to be. You know, he was very open and transparent. He realised he'd made the mistake, and I talked to him. You know, and I said I was disappointed in you, Wessel. But you know, he's paid his dues. He's come back. Not everyone's going to agree, and but what a player right now. It's like he is someone where the 2-year ban hasn't really affected him too much, because you know, right now he's playing some incredible darts, but you know, the integrity of the sport should be the number one.
And as well, just before we let you go, staying on this, the way that it's all working, we're seeing multiple, not just this isn't a Pacific manufacturer, this is a generalisation here. We're seeing manufacturers signing players younger and younger and younger, and it reminds me of football academies hoovering up players galore at a young age, hoping that they find the one, where there's no real guidance or there's no real rules in place for this. But we're seeing pressure piled on these youngsters when they get a manufacturer, and we're seeing more and more youngsters developing dartitis, perhaps because they're trying too hard to impress. Do you think that we need to protect the very youngsters, maybe just a little bit more from these kind of showbiz and glamorous situations a little bit, and just let them play?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the academies that are out there right now, and you know, I work with a lot of young players, but I've never gone down the route where I've seen players saying they're burnt out or there's an awful lot of pressure on them. I guess the Leighton Bennett one where he's playing Phil Taylor at, what was he, 15-year-old, and
I think he was 14.
Yeah, 14. Yeah, I mean that's possibly an example there, but you know, I think people when I think of Luke Littler straight away, he's got, you know, his father's brilliant. He's got a good management around him, and I think that should be the focus really. But you know, the players will see the riches that are out there. They'll all want to be the next Luke Littler. I guess part of my job is that it's important that they're protected.
Glenn, it's an absolute pleasure catching up with you always, and massively appreciate it.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you.